Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to the session. And thanks, Kala, for the invitation and organization of EdTech track. So for this session, we're going to focus on China. So we've seen very fast growth and investment in education technologies and innovations in China as well as globally in recent years. So last year in 2008, in China alone, we've seen 3.5 billion US dollars invested in China-based education technology. So today we have a very wonderful panel here that brings us the perspectives from industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and investors to talk about their experience and insights into how technology can transform education, can improve learning, can empower students and teachers. So first of all, please allow me to introduce the panelists very briefly. So first we have Mr. Chen Zhuang, Director of International Cooperation and Business Development in Neuron Education Technology Group. So Neuron is the largest private education provider in China that has a comprehensive education offerings from offline class to online class, from international schools to publishing businesses. And next to Zhuang is Mr. Xiao Dun, co-founder of 17 Zuoye, or Homework Together, which produce very good bottles. But anyway, Homework Together is one of the largest digital homework and learning platform that has a user of more than 50 million students and parents. They've raised their Series E round early last year that made them an EdTech unicorn. So last but not least, we have Mr. Bill Ning from founding partner at Blue Elephant Capital, which is an early stage EdTech-focused fund. They've invested in more than 80 EdTech startups in China so far. So let's give them a welcome applause. So first of all, I would like to ask our panelists to do a bit of introduction about themselves and how their products, their services is innovating education and how they achieve very fast growth in the last few years. So let's start with Zhuang.
As introduced, I'm the Director for International Cooperation and Business Development. The main responsibility in one sentence is just to tap the high-quality overseas resources to support Neuron's domestic growth. And our services covering from age 0 all the way up to 30-year-old, mainly the growing parts of a person's lifetime. Although we are approached by some other partners saying that you should look to the retirement for the senior citizenship because of the graying China is getting old before it get rich. But obviously, because we are already quite extensive and expensive, and we believe we can't do well if we spread out too much. So that's why we still try to focus in the growth paths between 0 to the age of 30, covering from kindergarten, primary, secondary, international study, and bilingual schools as well, online, offline. So we started 25 years ago, primarily for test preparation. At the time when foreign China's reform and opening up, there is a pent-up demand for Chinese students to study abroad, and hence Neuron was born. I think normally when we look back, obviously, for a successful business, obviously you have to be in the right time and doing the right thing with a group of right people and also have a vision. Of course, education is a long term, it's not short term. Obviously, 25 years ago, seemingly it's quite a short period of time, but in the China market, we're one of the oldest. When we was born, there is no internet. That's why we are in the transformation all the way up until today, how we use technology to drive our education. And our main competitors, TAL, and their slogan is to technology-driven company. Obviously, we believe at the end of the day, it's online and offline. There is no either or. Actually, it's neither or nor, it's both, obviously. We believe that the inspiration, the human touch, especially in education, is quite important. But then we are in the process of transformation. I mean, self-transformation is quite hard for us to go because we are in an organization with 70,000 employees. And it's a massive organization. So how you transform yourself in face of the challenges and the dynamic and fast and rapid market situation in China, I think that's the challenge to neuron as an organization.
Yeah, thank you. So Dun.
Yeah. Hi. So I'm Dun from 一起作业. We used to be called 一起作业, which means homework together. And now we've changed our name, but I haven't had time to change my shirt yet. So now we're called 一起 EdTech, which is education and technology together, which I think is a perfect name also for this panel. Because our vision is to combine education and technology together to make a better world and better future. And obviously, a better future starts with a better education. And we started with homework, which is something that is used by all the teachers, students, and parents in K-12 ecosystem in China. Every day, something like 160 million students do homework. And it used to be kind of a painful and inefficient process, totally based on paper, repetitive questions, fixed answers, not interactive, not individualized. So we found this pain point, and we offered a tool initially to teachers to support them with a blended homework experience, which is more interactive, more individualized, more interesting. We now cover something like 70 million users. So since my last update to Sophie, we've acquired some 20 million more users. And it's because we offer this for free. Apart from offering this product for free, we also have now over 1,000 people all over China doing teacher training for free. Because we believe teachers are the agent for changing education. And we think that technology is like wings for teachers. It never replaces teachers. It never replaces their mouths or their hands or their brains. But it helps them transform their teaching experience. So we now, in this conference, have at least 10 of the world's best teachers. And I was in one of their classes earlier, and I was so very impressed by this teacher from Georgia. He was singing and dancing, and all the room was filled with energy. But I think it was kind of a shame that his class could only be shared by something like a dozen people in the room at one time. But with the help of technology, the best teacher can be shared across the world at the same time to millions, even billions of people. And the best content from all over the world can be shared at any time, at any place, to any student. So that is our vision. And so now we change our name when we continue to expand what we do. And we now have a platform that is hopefully forever for free to schools that covers the national curriculum, the compulsory part of the elementary education for all the students. And we also have a family platform that is a complement to the school offering, because we think however good the schools are, they cannot offer enough individualized educational content and services to the families. So on top of this, using the data we collect, and we collect over 1 billion learning data points every day, we offer more individualized learning content and solutions to students outside school as a premium service. And out of the 70 million users, over half of the users are now in third, fourth, and fifth tier cities in China. So there are 6 levels of tiers of cities in China. And I think the less developed the cities are, actually there is a bigger demand for our kind of services, because there is a shortage of good teachers and good educational supplies, such as New-Oriental, before in that city. So technology plays even a bigger role in those cases. So I'll stop here. And I think China is a very interesting and very vibrant opportunity. It's always been a country that respects education a lot. But I think now with the introduction of technology, there is a unique period of time for development in China. And I think that's a perfect
segue to Bill.
Exactly.
Yeah, Bill, can you do an introduction of yourself and Blue Elephant?
Yes. My name is Bill. I'm from Blue Elephant Capital, or BE Capital. Unfortunately, we are the youngest company here. We started ourselves in 2015. So we do not have the privilege to invest in Neuron till 17 EdTech. So if we have founded ourselves earlier, we would have the opportunity. Our model is very interesting. We raise money from established education entrepreneurs from China. By far, we have about 35 or 40 entrepreneurs or listed companies who are our limited partners. And we use their resources and knowledges as well as money to invest in seed or angel round of early stage EdTech startups. In the last 4 years, we have invested in 75. We help these EdTech startups in cohorts. We will start our 7th cohorts next Friday. So I have to go back tonight. And interestingly, the capital together with the resources have done great good to those EdTech startups. In our first cohort, we have an online drawing institute called Hualala, means drawing, and its valuation now is $150 million now. We have about 11% of this company, but we only invested in about 2 million RMBs in its seed and angel round. So we find the possibility of using capital to catalyze the development of early stage EdTech startups. So we are very optimistic in doing this model continuously in the future. We do about 2 cohorts each year. The introduction should be short. So BE Capital means Blue Elephant Capital, but it also means building education with capital, because we see capital as a neutral stuff. Capital can be a catalyze in different industries, as it has done in transportation, in technology, and in energy, and now it comes to in healthcare and in education. So our mission is to building education with good capital, or capital with resources, or with patient resources who can stay with the EdTech startups and do whatever they can to help the startups to build very good products. So our mission is building education with capital. Our goal is to invest in EdTech startups and finally influence maybe a billion people on this planet. So that's what we do in China. By far, we are only doing our business in China, and we are only investing in RMB. But we hope maybe in 1 or 2 years we can do some US dollar investment abroad. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So as our panelists have mentioned about human touch and teachers' role, and also in the morning plenary that Ms. Sunny Varkey has stated that EdTech is not technology, but it's actually about education. So as Dun has mentioned about how your big data and learning analytics or artificial intelligence can actually make the impact of one teacher actually bigger and stronger. So can you give us some examples of how your product and technologies actually enables that?
Of course. So I was in Qinghai province in China last November, and it's a very different climate from here. It's about 4,500 meters above altitude, so it's close to the Himalayas. And this particular town was 99% Tibetan, so it was a town with the biggest percentage of a single ethnic group, which is not Han group, in China. And the reason I was there was because I found one teacher who was using our product. And I had no idea how he heard about our product, but I went there. And obviously, I had some knowledge of the data, because I saw that he had an unusually small class of just 2 students. And he was leaving English homework for his students at something like 5:30 or 6 a.m. every morning. So I went there. It was something like 3 hours flight from Beijing to the capital city of Qinghai called Xining, and another hour flight to Yushu from Xining, another city in Qinghai, and something like 8 hours of driving to reach 4,500 meters. And when I was there, so when I reached there, the teacher came out to greet me with the traditional silk scarf from Tibet. And he said something that really surprised me. He said, I'm so grateful that you provided this service to us. So I asked him why. And then he said, perhaps in Beijing, you are just a tool for teachers. But here, you are the only chance for our students to see the outside world. And this is the best chance they have to change their lives and their families' destinies. And so he told me the story. He's not an English teacher. He was a politics teacher. So his specialty, he studied Chinese university, and he was a kind of a politics. Politics is a compulsory subject, by the way, in Chinese schools. And there's no English teacher in this school for 10 years, for the last 10 years. But he believes that to learn a language is to acquire the skills for the students to communicate and see the world. So it's not just learning about the letters and the grammar, but it's about learning a different way of thinking and learning to communicate and understand what it means to be human. So he had this idea, but he had no tools or no content and no knowledge of this language. And by the way, it also is required by the national curriculum in China that all the students study English for at least 9 years during the compulsory period of their education. But this school had no English teacher. So he found on our platform that there are these content, like picture books, and there are listening and speaking interactive exercises. There are leveled readers. There are writing exercises. All these things for free to his students. And he doesn't have to spend a lot of time on learning the language himself. So, for example, before English teachers spend at least 10 hours every week marking the homework. But he doesn't need to spend any time whatsoever. So this interactive conversation with AI. We cannot do totally open-ended conversation yet, but we can do conversation for a confined topic. For example, just talking about food, like ordering in a restaurant. We can do this through technology. There is immediate feedback and personalized feedback. We can also correct the pronunciation of the students. So for example, the computer will say, welcome to Dubai, and the student will follow and say, welcome to Dubai, and the computer will say, welcome. It means 欢迎, welcome, not welcome. So try again, welcome, and the student say, welcome, and say, welcome to Dubai. And so it's kind of an automated, personalized system that trains the students. And it automatically gives feedback to the teachers, the students, and the parents, and so they can see how they are doing. And then we help the students who are struggling with easier content, so they don't get frustrated. And we help the students who are more advanced with more difficult, more challenging content, so they're not bored. And all the students, doesn't matter what their level is, they find the more appropriate, more personalized level for their learning. And the teachers also, they can contribute to our content with their own content. But the system is learning the teacher's behavior. And we have found over the years that the best teachers tend to contribute the most. So they are also the most studious, the most active, the teachers who are most willing to share. And in a technology sense, they are the teachers who contribute the most data to our platform. So we learn the most from the best teachers. And we learn from all the best teachers from all over the country. So their knowledge can be shared to these teachers in Qinghai province. And just another word about teacher training. So usually we have, as I mentioned, 1,000 people. They are in something like 400 cities in China, from first-tier city to sixth-tier city. But this town in Qinghai, because it's 4,500 meters above ground, we don't have offline staff there to train the teachers. And I think the only way for our system to work is for the teachers to be trained first. I don't believe in just throwing them an advanced technological system and then suddenly they become better teachers. I think they need to understand how technology can help them at the first place. So we administered remote teacher training through live broadcasting. It is something usually we do to our students. So there are lots of students, I think at this moment, maybe 1 million students who take our live broadcasted classes all over the country. But in this case, we use the same technology to do the teacher training. So we had about 1 teacher training session every week from Beijing to Qinghai to help this English teacher with how better to use our system to teach their classes. So this program has lasted for just under half a year now, since I went last November. And now this teacher shared with me a good news, which is one of his students, he was participated in one of the English competitions across the province. And he was 3rd place in all of the province, which was unbelievable for this school. And he was invited to go to the capital city of Qinghai, which is Xining. And it's the first time this student ever stepped out of this small town. And I told the teacher that if the student can continue to study on our program for a year, I'll invite him to come to Beijing, which is one of the dreams that the student mentioned to me when I was in the city. And I hope that maybe if he studies long enough, one day we can invite him to come to Dubai, and maybe the teacher to come to Dubai as well, to share this experience of teaching and learning through a combination of education and technology.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this with us. So I will turn the question to Zhuang, because you have said that Neurontal's been there 25 years, right? And then now you've also invested a lot in technologies like artificial intelligence. Also, your online platform will be IPO soon. So how do you see the technology plays a role in the strategy of the company, and how that benefits students and teachers, how Neurontal innovates itself in the new age of technology?
Yes, I think there is a consensus not only amongst us sitting on the stage, but also we've heard voices from many parts of the panels that we acknowledge the power of technology, especially how we can effectively use the technology to empower the student to teach not only effectively, but also to the equity in education to reach in the rural areas, as Dun's company is doing, and also Neurontal is doing. I think we see many of the big companies see eye to eye to that. I think the problem is whether you can do that continuously and you can evaluate the effectiveness and also with the dedication. I think that's quite important. And then you need to explore. We talk a lot about AI, and Neurontal recently set up its own AI institute in collaboration with many of the US institutions and also top Chinese AI and scientists. I think we are all in for that. We are exploring. I think Chinese are very tech savvy. I mean, in general, East Asian quite tech savvy. And then how we can use that technology not for its own sake, but really to see, to evaluate, to find a way, I think is worth exploring. We need to pay the prices along the way. But at the end of the day, I think, as Sunny Vacuum mentioned, is education. And at the end of the day, it all boils down to education. These are all the tools. We set up AI Institute, and we open the arms to welcome all kinds of partnership and collaboration. And once we have make any breakthroughs, we are more than happy to share our platform to not only the students and families, but also other state schools as well. And then we have our own, for language learning and teaching, we have our own, set up a joint venture company with the leading Chinese speech recognition company to do that electronic grading and also speech and spoken dialogue. We're all doing that. I think we're not the exception. I think we are one of the team that are really going for that. We join the trend in a way. But I think at the end of the day, it's really about your dedication, the long-term goal to really for the benefit of students and also for the teachers. Because I've seen that teachers really work really hard, not only in classroom, but really after classroom, they do lots of paperwork. And we try to find ways to relieve their burden, to focus. And all of this, as Dun also mentioned, teacher is quite important. That's why we just released a new slogan. Neuron during the past 25 years, we came through lots of different kinds of slogans, but now we dwell on one slogan, which is Neuron delivers the best quality of teachers. We hope we can deliver the promise. At the end of the day, is the teacher. And then we train the teachers through technology as well. And we have one campaign called a Candlelight campaign, really physical teacher go into the villages. In a year, we went to 100 schools across 100 very poor, poverty-stricken counties across China to really help them through technology, through face-to-face instruction. Hopefully, we can change for good.
Thank you. I want to shift the conversation a little bit to more to the growth and scalability, because I would say like technologies and EdTech that gives us a promise of larger accessibilities. So I will turn to Bill. So you've invested in a lot of startups. How do you see they achieve fast growth and scalability?
Fast growth, yeah. The valuation of our company, it goes very fast. In general, we have 75 portfolio companies, so we got some interesting figures. So about over 90% of them are still living, or they grow at a very rapid rate, and about 60% of them have got the next round of financing, and 30% of them got a valuation of over 100 million RMB, and about 10% will reach 100 million US dollars. So the valuation goes very fast. The reason is that they got rapid growth. I will give you an example like Hualala. Hualala is an online drawing class. And now it has expanded to online 通识教育. I don't know how
Liberal
arts classes to kids aged from about 3 to 12, and its growth is very rapid because originally when there was no online drawing classes like Hualala, the offline training institutes are very scattered. The largest training institutes has a revenue of only about 300 million RMB per year. But with online, and it's very scattered, like Shenzhen has its largest training institute, and Beijing has one, and Shanghai has one, and other local drawing institutes also exist. But with online drawing, the market can be more concentrated. So I can give you a number. Hualala has users all over about 31 provinces in China, and even it has users from overseas, especially the Chinese citizens working overseas. And last year, in the 2018, in June, it has only about 3 million RMB per month. But by the end of 2018, it got a cash in of 20 million RMB per month. It's a very extraordinary growth rate. It's all because they have a very good way of acquiring users using the WeChat ecosystem. They are very efficient in getting users from WeChat. So not only their online drawing classes, but also online liberal arts classes are expanded at a very rapid rate. You can do the math. In June, it's no more than 5 million cash in per month. But in December, it's 20 million RMB per month. It's increasing at a very fast rate. That's one way. That's one example of how online classes expand in a gigantic market like China. So that's one way I see technology has technology or new channel of distribution has enabled EdTech startups to grow at a very rapid rate. Another interesting case is about another of our portfolio company called Dimension Robotics. Dimension Robotics is a robot company founded by a Carnegie Mellon PhD candidate. When he came back to China in 2015, he was alone, of course, with his classmates. They were both PhD candidates from Carnegie Mellon, where they were working in the same class with the founder of Boston Dynamics. So when they came back, they are trying to build a robot with very good motion intelligence. It's another way of AI, because for a robot, there are two kinds of AI. One is motion intelligence to help them to move forward and backwards and to avoid obstacles, something like that. Another is a recognition artificial intelligence, which enable the robot to see and to understand what's happening around it. So Dimension Robotics was very good at motion intelligence. So 3 years later, they have been building a robot operation system and using this system to build a very affordable robot for universities. And using their operating system and their robot, the universities can give AI classes for college students. Last year, 2018, the Chinese government has set a goal for 300 Chinese universities to open a new course called artificial intelligence. So Dimension Robotics robot and their curriculum are highly wanted by those universities. Now half of the 300 universities have using Dimension Robotics product and the curriculum to give artificial intelligence class. And now they are expanding to customer market, and they are giving artificial intelligence class to college students who have no chance of studying this or who are not in the AI major, because large AI companies like Xiaomi, like Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent are all in great demand of engineers who have basic knowledge of artificial intelligence. So that's also a very rapid growth company from our portfolio companies. So to sum up, all of our EdTech companies who have got great rapid increase of their valuation has find a way of using technology to get a rapid growth. That's my case.
Thank you. Can we have one question from the audience to our panelists? Yes.
My question is for Mr. Dongxiao. I think work what you do. I have a big question when we are talking about offering your platform for free. How is it that you are able to offer to millions of people access to your platform?
Yeah, thank you. So the short answer to that is we're grateful to people like Bill who invest. So we started in 2011, and until 2016, we made zero revenue. So for 5 years, we were just expanding and just spending. I think by then we raised something like 135 million USD before having any revenue come in. And it was all to invest in this free school platform, which from a business perspective, gives us traffic, teachers, students, and parents, and also data. Because even in really huge internet companies like Tencent and Alibaba, there is a shortage of learning data. And we believe the central role of education the central role of technology for education is massification and also personalization. And you can achieve massification relatively easily. But for personalization, you really have to have an understanding of learning from a data perspective. About 2 years ago, we started to monetize, and it was through this personalized family platform that I mentioned. And another reason we could offer the school platform for free for so long, and hopefully forever, is the marginal cost for an actual student is not huge. So mostly it's based on product, automated, digital content. And the cost for us is basically server cost. And it's quite tiny. It's less than $1 for one student for a year. I think this kind of business model works in China, one, because there is a possibility of capital, and the other is because the families are really spending a lot of money outside schools. So there's an estimated $200 billion USD after school market, mostly in forms of tutoring, like offered by New Oriental. But it's a huge market. So our thesis is that 20 years ago, when New Oriental started, all of that spending went offline. And even today, I believe New Oriental covers something like 50 cities offline out of over 1,400 cities in China. So there's a lot of grounds yet to be covered by any offline tutoring center. And the other is, even for cities like Beijing, for a subject like drawing, for example, it doesn't make sense to have an offline center for some geographical locations, simply because there's not enough density of the families for this particular demand. But if you do it online, there is a much better economy of scale. So I think the one core answer to your question is that there is a demand for families outside school, and there's also a demand for upgrade inside school, and we just worked out the business model and as a result. And so far, I can't say that it's totally worked. We are still on the verge of break-even. We haven't been able to make huge profits yet, but I'm very confident. And I believe we are the first company in the world to have offered this model, like a free service to schools and premium personalized service to families. But I think in other parts of the world, this could work as well.
Thank you. Do we have a question for him? Last question, yes.
Thank you very much. We see often, I just want to know, why do China startups don't often scale to other regions like Africa, Europe, or United States? Because we see often that you can scale hardware stuff, but software we don't see a lot.
Thank you. Anyone wants to address this?
Why not go abroad, you mean?
Why not go abroad, yes.
Short answer is China is so huge for us to take. Plus New Oriental, plus TAL, these two biggest, very comprehensive. I mean, the market share occupied only under 5%. It's quite fragmented. And also we believe before we build up, before we're stronger, we don't want to get that big. So, and there are millions of students in China at our threshold. We haven't served them as well as we expect. So I think we need to get our house in order before. But of course, my role is part of the role is that really to place any of our technology or assets or opportunities abroad. We are doing that, but not as fast or as broadly as we wish, because at a certain amount of time, you only have finite resources, and you need to focus on what you do. Hopefully we can.
Thank you. Sorry, it's last question because we've already actually passed the time. So thank you very much. If you have any more questions, come to talk to us after the session. Thank you very much.